This is Review Your Gear Radio with your host Chris Husted and Jason Renner. Coming to you with the latest topics, reviews, and techniques for hunting and fishing in the Midwest. And here they are, Chris and Jason. Take it away, boys.
Hello, Review Your Radio. I'm Chris Husted.
I'm Jason Renner.
Season 4, Episode 22. It's the Oktoberfest Hunters Podcast Edition.
Take two,
because I literally messed up 2 seconds. We never do retakes on this show ever, but when you mess up 2 seconds in, it's a redo.
Your face hit the wall.
Yeah, so let's start it off. Just
Wow.
sick of the cheaters. Yeah, they'll never be forgotten. But oh my goodness, guys, like I think the memes, and it's funny because like you see a meme 40 times in a day, and then 3 days later, people still post it on your page like, hey, have you seen this? Like, yes.
The funny thing is I'm still getting texts from people outside the walleye world, and it's like, yeah, this is really old news in our world.
Right.
You know,
it's been beat to death. Those guys' names will never be forgotten. It was on the Dan Patrick ESPN. Remember that Dan Patrick?
Yeah.
It was on his radio show today. They had a segment on it, so it's like, wow, it's being covered. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So, are you getting a lot of pictures from people on big bucks on game cameras?
Yeah, because the ones that seem to be, survived outside the HD, there's some big bucks out there.
I have a buddy in Minnesota who's been sending me a lot of pics, and yeah, they had one that slipped through the cracks last year, and it's back, and of course, bigger and badder. So
yeah.
But did we have this conversation before? I swear, how many game cameras is too much? Are they networked? Can you network them all like a Nest, yes. Like a Wi-Fi Nest?
You can network.
So you could have how many in a network?
Depends on what the router can take. There's a couple ways to do it. There's a central router. There's central, or there's ones that have individual cellular chips that will send it up.
Mm-hmm.
There's different ways to do it. So it depends on how you got it. There's almost like a networking system on some of them where it all sends it to a general hub, and then the hub sends it up cellularly. Those I think you could have up to 12 cameras on, I think.
So you could have multiple networks then.
Right.
Ooh.
I don't know if there's a do.
I'm sure, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. But it's got to be tough to hide if you're a deer.
Well, and let's be honest, the biggest thing about 4 was you had to walk into your hunting grounds,
right?
Pull those chips.
Oh, sure, yeah, makes sense. So
you're human scent,
and you're risking
you're disturbing.
Yeah,
you risk busting something, and now today's technology is
you set and forget.
Yeah,
especially if you have like solar panel
power, and networks, and it's pretty amazing to see what's going on. Big bucks.
It's pretty rare we have a quiet moment. I'm kind of like, oh my goodness, Renner's going quiet. So I've had a lot of conversations. I have quite a few clients that are outfitters up in Canada. It sounds like the guys that are pretty far north, things are starting to they're seeing the back end now.
Oh, okay.
So the main push is moving off the tree lines and into the first 40 miles or so, and they're shifting down. So
how far north is that for just...
You're going to see, I think the main push, for example, in Saskatchewan, sounds like between the Regina and Saskatoon line.
Gotcha.
Which is, we would consider, I guess, central.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's not necessarily early, but, when you have cool mornings, like I saw it was 19 degrees up there this morning.
It's single digits
tomorrow. For tomorrow, yeah. So, it might get a few moving. Meanwhile, it's going to warm right back up.
Correct.
So the sky's not falling. It's just it's going to spark some migration for sure.
Thanks, Chicken Little.
But it's coming. I'm as you saw, I'm doing yard work and getting all that stuff done, so I can pack the trailer with the snow goose decoys, and it's ready to rock. So I've been talking to a few buddies down South Dakota, and boy, it sounds like they're starving for ducks.
Well, with this freeze, actually, is going all the way down to Sioux Falls. So, like, any teal or gadwalls or any of that stuff that was even thinking about going that far might be fasted.
Huh. I had a few mourning doves in the yard this morning. I was like, "Hey, you're still here?"
Yeah, I don't
It's kind of what I was thinking. But here in North Dakota, as we said, the other podcast was a 26% wetter than last year.
Correct.
So it's not like it's amazing, but we seem to have just enough water.
So did they not have a good hatch down there for local birds?
They've been dry. South Dakota was really dry this year.
Okay.
They didn't have a lot of water. They're in a drought for sure.
So kind of what we had conditions and shifted south.
Exactly.
Gotcha. So
and the guys I talked to, I mean, they know where the ducks are. They said it's awful down there. Now, what's interesting is usually by this time, a lot of the North Dakota ducks, the first week get pressured and you see a lot of them bump.
Yeah.
It's like they haven't bumped yet. Or are more guys coming later?
I don't know. It's hard. I knew a couple groups of guys up here last weekend. They had a couple good days, but talked to some guys that really struggled. Their big thing is, we didn't see any big groups of anything. Well, it really hasn't.
Right.
Let's be honest. We're having our first good freeze to get rid of bugs tonight. I mean, and we really haven't had a good hard frost up until now. It's like we're skipping kind of a frost thing going straight to freeze, but they just don't group up, and we saw that night we hunted. We just didn't get
right.
We had onesie twosies, none of the big groups of ducks that came.
There was a few of them moving around, way in the distance, so it's not like it's just totally, but. In our area, I don't know what the deal was. We saw them. Well, the sloughs around us too were really shallow. There's the kind they like to actually feed in. They probably just ate their meal and chilled.
But
we just didn't see them even really flying around.
No, ones who did got committed. But I tell you what a nice evening that was.
It was.
I don't know. I kind of like hunting ducks like that.
Yeah, I think we might have to do it again. So I got a question for you, Mr. Renner.
What's that, sir?
How thick is the ice on Lake Audubon?
How thick is the ice on Lake Audubon?
Love how you get into that. Yeah, the answer is 0. So moving on. Actually, that's funny because it's going to... With the weather coming up, you might start seeing people ask that seriously.
Oh, it's going to get, was there any ice?
I saw it got down below free. Is there? Newbies to the prairie.
Correct.
So, I usually don't like to say anything necessarily negative, but motion duck decoys, the batteries suck. I'm really kind of sick of them. Here's why I don't like them. You really have to baby them, or like I call them a vexilar battery because when you say that, you know exactly what size. The duck batteries are like what, half the size?
Half that size.
So actually, they're more like a third.
Yeah, they're like a 12.
Well, anyways,
12 amp. They're 8 amps, I think, or 6 amps.
So it's like with the vexilar style batteries, if you charge it once in the off season, like now or in June or whatever, and then when it comes to ice fishing season, of course, then your battery's not toast.
Yeah.
With these things, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm having to replace them every year, no matter what.
Must be just how they're manufactured. Or...
Oh, they're cheap,
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if you're buying them for $15 at a local big box store, they're probably cost a quarter of that. So
Correct.
So they are what they are. They're a cheap. It's a duck decoy battery. You don't need like super lithium here, but then again, I think with every time I turn on social media, I seem to see a lithium battery fail. I saw another one last night. Guy's boat went up in fire. His battery charger didn't like at 100% didn't stop, and it just toast. It just went up in flames on his. He had it on his camera.
That's the one thing. There's all these advantages of lithium, but it seems like the one negative.
You gotta baby them.
You got to baby them, and if something goes on, it destroys. I personally had one of my high school friends. Their camper got ruined. Their whole camping trip. They both. She just retired from the military, and so part of they kind of went across the country in a pull type camper and stuff, and yeah, they had to buy a new camper. I think in Ohio, Iowa, something like that, because their lithium batteries failed. They put gas into it and made the environment toxic.
Wow,
it was a bad deal. So I mean,
they're so green though. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Boy, I don't know how they actually can push that and people believe it. I mean, anyways.
Dude, although, side note, okay, I walked into Shields today.
Okay.
On my lunch break. And holy cows are pheasant shells. Given it's pheasant opener this weekend in North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
$24.99 was the price of the shells they were featuring up front. Remember they were like $10.
Well, right, but first of all, let's just rejoice they're available.
Well, yeah.
Second of all, with inflation and shortages and blah blah blah, you expect a high price. What was the brand?
Those were Federals.
No kidding.
And they weren't even like the Prairie Storm.
I was expecting that to be. So it's just your standard
Federal high velocity.
But how many shells do you really need to shoot a few pheasants?
If you need more than 6 to shoot 3.
So, I mean, it's not like you're hunting snow geese where the limit's 50.
Correct.
You need shells.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about complaining about shell bills. Talk to snow goose hunters for sure.
I did go back and pick up a few boxes of double, so that was
not a bad idea.
My whole point, I'm kind of buying them, a couple here, a couple there, because the higher prices to kind of not make, I got to go hunting.
Well, it's not like, it's kind of like fuel, except you're not storing it and having it go bad. I mean, you're going to use it.
Yeah.
But, I got, as you know, in my shop, I have a few shells still that are, problem is I have so many mixed boxes through the years that's usually juvie hunting. But when I used to hunt a lot of juvies, that's what I would hunt the hodgepodge, random steel shot. You didn't know what it was, but when they got close enough, it didn't matter.
As long as you're putting beads in the head.
Right.
But I did talk to the Shields guys, and boy, they said that the waterfowl, non-resident waterfowl opener, wasn't very busy. Not normal, your packed house that Thursday night or Friday night.
People from out of state coming in and buying stuff?
Yeah.
Do you know what? Okay, think about it. What if you're from out of state and you're going to go up to pick a town, doesn't matter. Why would you really have to stop at a big box event? And I'm not picking on Shields. I'm just saying any store. Everyone's ordering. I think COVID, if it's taught everyone one thing, it's everyone learned exactly how to order on the internet. I mean, I don't think people are going to big box stores to buy stuff. But
even, and the guy I talked to I've known him for years. And he said, He goes, I don't expect even, pheasant opening weekend, the first, that Thursday and Friday used to be, you know, you know, you wanted to work those days because how much commission you sold, just in shotguns alone and stuff. And he goes, it's just not that way anymore. So,
Right.
but he said the same thing, COVID and just the other thing is guys flying in. They don't have the guys that fly in, buy all their stuff here, and throw them in a rental car because flights are. It's hard to fly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean,
I just think if you plan ahead for a trip, you're not going to wait and buy your shells and stuff like that the night before.
well, plus because they weren't available last year.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
ran the route, so it trained them.
You're right. You're right. So yeah, whatever it is, that I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So I mean, sucks for these guys. I mean, commission guys. I mean,
you can look on any statistic in the world for e-commerce and its increase in sales. Yeah. Let's face it. I mean, it's more people are not going to Main Street. People are ordering it to their door.
That's why
it's been that way. It's a trend. It's not. I don't see it ending.
Yeah, that's why I try to support the local shops.
Oh, I absolutely know, and we both do. But there's times when, for example, I'll pick a random product. If I wanted the best portable aerator on the market, where am I going to get it?
Yeah,
yeah. So there's always times, and let's face it too. A lot of people got used because of COVID ordering like daily supplies like toilet paper and paper towels and you name it.
I think we still do that because one, even still now it's hard to the big box stores, whether toilet paper, water, it's you're running there and do they have it? So instead you just hey, they have it, order it, pick up,
right,
pull up, they throw it in there for you. I mean, it's just so easy, and like you said, I think COVID trained us to do that. So
absolutely. So this is a loaded question, but what's the best motion decoys for waterfowl, Mr. Renner?
No, are you talking
any of them? You can talk about puddling ducks to in the field. I mean, what's the stuff that's proven?
I think the biggest thing, I think something that's lost that we used to do all the time was even just having the heavy weight with a string.
Jerk string. Yeah. You really can't beat a jerk string unless you literally invest in a bunch of those motion swimmers and stuff like that, but at some point it just gets, I know personally, it just stinks running a whole lot of batteries that you have to recharge.
Oh, and they got the whole where they take the spinners now, and even like the revolving snow goose things. They got them for ducks too, where you put, Mojo ducks or whatever brand you want to call it on those, and they spin around too.
Right.
I mean, so it just depends on how fancy you want to get. But again, you're working with batteries.
We actually did that a lot. Spring snow goose when we're hunting ponds. A lot of times right in that magic last hour, how often does it just get calm? Even on windy days, it just often dies that last hour. And your pond is glass, and that is not natural. No. And especially with decoys all over it. So we would tie 3 decoys together and through a rigging system and
the old jerk string.
So yeah, it's tough to beat that. Obviously, no secret spinning wings of any Robo Mojo. Those, it's incredible how well they still work to a degree. I mean, they're not the end all, but I mean, they still work.
Those full bodies with the stakes,
yep,
where they rotate for the field, I think they're pretty tough to beat because if you get the right amount of wind, it's almost that natural motion because those ducks almost have that little waddle like the wind gives them,
right,
as they're walking through the field.
It looked pretty good.
Yeah, it did.
It looks good. I only use, as you know, I use 4 dozen, so I don't use a ton. I use just enough.
But you really don't need a ton,
No.
especially this time of year. Because one, the ducks are not really grouped up. The geese aren't grouped up. I think that's a huge mistake guys use early is using too many decoys.
And tell me a time in the year when ducks won't come into Canada goose decoys.
All the time.
You know?
It's just
Even late season. Yeah. Even late season.
Hey, it's geese. I'm going over there.
And then, of course, when we're going to talk snow geese, I still think it's tough to beat rotor machines. If you have a bunch of them out on calm days, it's a day saver. I don't like using them in wind because it just flat out puts too much stress on the motors. I've burnt out plenty. But I still think the verdict is out on clones and those type of flappers.
Gotcha.
I think they're great. And I've seen them work great on Jewies, but I've also seen them on adults where adults do adult things, and you have 6, 7, 8 clones out, and they still do adult things.
Yeah.
So it's coming down to that. Now, of course, Canada geese, I still think you can't beat a flag.
No, flag or, just to help them finish.
Right. Yep.
It just seems like
the KISS principle.
The KISS, yeah.
Well, that's time for a break there, Mr. Renner. We'll be right back here on Revere Your Gear Radio. And we're back here on Revere Your Gear Radio. So, sad day, Mr. Renner.
What's that?
I put the camper away.
Yeah, mine gets put away next week.
Winterized, pulling the battery after this, actually, and that's all she wrote for the year. I'm not even going to pull it out. A lot of times I'll pop it out for the year. I might even just leave it in.
Sad day.
It's kind of like when you really know summer, for lack of a better word, is over, regardless of the calendar.
Yeah.
When you put the camper away, there's no more summer things happening. So
you put the steak in summer.
So put the steak in summer. Okay. Camper versus ice castle debate.
So here's the thing. I got a lot of buddies that have started to get the all seasons.
Yep.
Ice castle, which, okay, it has a shower, has air conditioning, has a little bit of the kitchen. There's some bigger models, let's be honest. 24-footers are almost like
I've seen a 24.
But here's the thing. When you're stepping into something like that, isn't it taking you kind of out of the realm of it being a true ice house? It's so big.
It's not as portable. Yeah. It's just not. My buddy, when he had a 24, the whole thing is not where he wanted to fish, is where can I put this thing out?
Correct. Especially
when you get snow. You get a foot of snow or so, and 2 on the ice. You ain't moving that around too much. So I don't disagree. Me. There's 2 different types of ice fishermen. Really, there's those that are serious about fishing, and there's those that just want to crack some beers and fish.
Correct. Which nothing wrong.
There's nothing wrong with either. I'm just saying. Like, there's the guys that fish in the communities, and, and that's awesome. It's like camping, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You go and have beers with your boys, have a good time. You really shouldn't get in trouble because you're out on the ice, right? There's not much, Point is to each their own, but
when we were looking at campers, I seriously weighed that option. But it's just like, okay, I'm taking my wife and kids, and they want to camp. I could not find enough comfort in an ice castle type system.
You would never use an ice castle in the winter much anyways. No. I don't see you ever. You don't ice fish a ton anyways?
Not well.
With hockey?
I got 3 years.
Yeah, I know.
I got 3 years, and then it's send her on the bus.
Fair enough. No, campers, it's tough to put a lot of money in a camper because you can only use it so many months. But boy, it's nice having
a home base,
a good home base for sure. So let's have some headlines. Did you see that girl that caught that golden crappie in Missouri?
I love gold. Actually, it's a pretty fish. I'm gonna say that.
Look at it. It was like a 13-inch. It said it was like a dinner plate. So it was a good size. But yeah, it was. They did release it, which is cool.
Yeah.
So someone has a chance to catch it as well, and it weighed about 2 pounds. That's
good sized crappie.
It's a hefty 13-incher.
That's a hefty one.
But at any rate, it was caught down in Missouri, and it's one of the cooler looking crappies I have ever seen.
They should at least get a fiberglass replica. Like replica?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But then you go to the taxidermist, like, well, what does it look like? You have to show them the video.
Yeah, I know, but still, I mean,
I get it.
They should be able to paint that.
So leave it to the French. France is imposing alcohol ban on hunters.
Like they can't have it in the field, or
well, they're gonna. It sounds like they're gonna have, basically like driving, like a Dewey type rules. Like you can drink while you're hunting, but if you get like stopped while hunting and you have like a blood alcohol level at a certain level, you can get in deep doo-doo over in France. Of course, the hunting groups over there are up in arms because 91% of breathalyzers are tense after hunting accidents are negative.
Yeah.
So it's a rarity. I mean, so the stigma of, Farmer Joe running around, or Hunter Joe in his blaze orange and boozing and throwing stuff up.
Correct.
It's not what a true indicator of hunting. In
European countries, drinking is also a little more like we sit down and have a glass of milk. The French have a glass of wine.
Sure.
I mean, so it's a little bit of different like rules and stuff like that over there. So, so I can see why this could be a bigger issue over there because it's a little more open drinking environment. So
sure. Chicago allows deer hunting for the first time in 150 years.
Oh, way to go, Chicago!
Yeah, it kind of actually blew me away. There's a gentleman by the name of Jose Guzman who was the first gentleman to harvest a deer legally within Chicago in more than 150 years. So I'm kind of surprised that they would allow it. I'm just being honest. How restrictive they are in gun laws that they would allow. He used a crossbow. They have what was it? 8 of 37 applicants. So they only had 37 applicants to hunt deer in Chicago, but 8 were selected. They got 2 weeks of the season, and he took a doe, which is awesome. He wanted to eat. So he wanted venison. So there it was. Took his opportunity.
I have no problem with that.
I have zero. Evidently they're having some issues with chronic waste and other types of issues, so they had to take some.
Anytime you have an overpopulation, you're going to have disease spread. I mean, it's just given.
Right. And
biology says so.
And people just love bouncing deer off their, front of their vehicles.
I'm just kind of relieved, like, the population of deer took such a hit of EHD. You really don't. I mean, still have seen some hit, but not like normal years when you're driving around Bismarck.
Right. Yeah, in my neighborhood, there was a few, but unfortunately, they got schmucked, going through the highway.
Yeah.
Right there. I just haven't seen squat for deer on my place.
Yeah.
We have everything else. We used to have a decent amount of pheasants, a lot of turkeys. Just deer are hard to come by.
Yeah.
So we're getting into it. Are we really getting into the ice rod debate? Well, actually, before we get into that, I want to talk real quick. Humminbird released those new lake chips, and you saw this.
Curveball. Ooh, he's throwing the curveball.
I did throw a curveball because I don't want to jump into ice fishing and then jump right back into open water, but they do look pretty interesting. I don't know. The main thing I notice is shading.
Well, it's supposed to have almost like 3D effect of the lake that takes like the contours and it's supposed to almost make them visible so you can see.
But it's the
shelves
same
and
contours. Like, that's what I want to know
Yeah.
is it the exact same lake imagery, just displayed a different way?
I guess I read, maybe, I don't know. Supposedly they added some more in-depth stuff. I just don't know what areas.
If I'm going to get a chip, I think it was like $2 or $2.50 for
Yeah.
the premium chip. So I'd like to know if it's going to really make a difference on my
if
graph.
it's worth the investment.
Exactly. So let's jump into it, sir. The ice rod debate, best all-around size. Now, that's species dependent, of course.
But okay, I'm talking. Let's talk about every
If
average.
you're going to have one rod,
average Joe that has wants to go out and buy one
get a 28.
nice. You think 28
Yeah.
or 32?
Well, I like a little longer rod, but for the average Joe, I think the average Joe would be fine with the 28.
28. And
I really do.
I think medium's because it can handle
Yep.
everything.
But then again, most people that ice fish, they kind of know what they're after anyways. Like, they're going for walleyes, they're going for pike, they're going for perch. Like, they know what they're going for. They're not just dropping a bait down and hoping something bites. So it seems like the ice fishing, and it's no different than open water. A lot of guys are getting, spending a lot of money on custom rods and stuff that are really application and species dependent.
Correct. But it's just the other thing I think that's I've fallen in love with is the built-in rod seats. With the screw-ins instead of the on the cork handle, tape, yada yada yada. I like the rod seat in there.
Yep, I understand.
I mean, is it supposed to be more sensitive that way, or something like that, or
I don't know. I really don't.
I mean, but just having that real to me is just nice to have that real seat in there. So,
how long is too long for a rod?
Well, you're starting to see 42s.
Yeah, the problem is you don't have a lot of rod cases that can handle.
No, and that's the issue. And I just the other thing is I understand the guys that hole hop and don't spend a lot of time in a house, but I mean, so what do these guys do? They put them away when they go in their flip overs or whatever when it gets cold, or just something to keep in mind. I mean, 38's about, I think, my longest.
I have a 36.
You have a 36?
36 I really like. I have a couple of them now, but I also, for perch, I use 28s.
Yeah.
So, to each their own. Now, this is a question that you're taking a jab at me.
Well,
is vexilar even relevant anymore?
I'm not really taking a jab.
No, I know you're not, but go on.
But it's just, so much technology. I mean, prime example is the hummingbird maps that come, you're whether it's a Helix 7 or a Helix 5 or the Lowrances that they're putting on the ice or the Garmins. It's just you have the flasher technology that's pretty close to real time as the vexilars, but you also have the mapping capabilities on there. And the other thing is everybody's coming out with a live scope, live something.
Yeah.
And Vexilar's kind of being left in the dust. So what has to, you're sitting there at Vexilar. Do you just rely on the fact that, hey, we're the good old boys club, and then
okay. At the end of the day, how do you measure a good outing of fishing? Really?
Success. Stuff worked. I mean, yes, the Vexilars always work. But, I mean, with everything, revolutionizing ice fishing is with the live stuff, is what you can see. Does Vexilar have to go in that direction?
Again, you're always gonna see people enjoying. Not everyone is gonna always buy a live scope, active target, whatever, to enjoy a day on the water, to enjoy a day on the ice. Heck, there's still guys out there that don't even have a vexilar.
Correct.
And they fish, even more old school than that. But you know what? They probably have a good time. They maybe don't catch as many fish, but
correct.
Again, how do you each angler and how you measure your success, I think varies,
But,
for each person.
What is an FL? What is it, 32?
Oh, I don't know what they're on now, but yeah, it was FL 30.
30 or whatever. But you get that with a lithium, it's 800 and some bucks.
Yep.
I mean, and you look at now, you can get the lower end panoptic system, and let's say a Garmin 7-inch rigged up. You can get that for $1,000. So there's $200 difference.
Right.
I mean, what's somebody gonna look at? I mean,
right. No, I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
I just wonder if, like, Markham and Vexilar, and if they're going to step into that world, or are they just gonna go
ice fishing? There is a lot of people that don't want a whole hop, though, right? So if they're on if they're on a spot or a piece of structure, there's a lot of people that would just rather wait it out than
and intercept fish,
and then having a wide cone vexilar might work just fine.
Yeah.
Because if you're rapidly or actively jigging anyways, you're drawing attention too. So
yeah,
again, I agree. I could still have a darn good day on the ice with a vexilar any day of the week. Just
I'm just
I get it. I get it.
These companies that are how far does this go? And everybody's go, oh, it's just about the money. Well, but also that money puts more fish on the ice.
And also money is tighter nationwide these
correct.
days. So
correct.
What's cooking on the stone?
What's cooking on the stone?
Euros, baby. Okay. I cheated though. I bought a kit at Cashwise.
Cashwise.
Had the Euro meat.
I keep looking at it.
It's not bad.
It's not bad. Okay.
It's not bad. It's good. They do give you a decent amount of tzatziki sauce because I like a lot.
Yeah.
Then they have this weird feta sauce, which is like not feta cheese, but it's like a feta sauce.
Not good.
I want tzatziki. So
what
and
if you do tzatziki and they put real feta in it?
Honestly, I'm not a big feta. I like feta, but not my Euros.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't like the conflicting with the tzatziki. I love really good tzatziki sauce, especially if it's homemade yogurt based.
Yogurt based, lots of cucumber, lots of dill.
Oh yeah. But yeah, we had that last night and it was pretty darn good.
I keep looking at that.
It's like $12.
Yeah,
$11.
Like, ooh, I could do that. Yeah.
I bought 2 of them, by the way. Well, to feed everyone.
Feed everyone.
Boys had seconds, so
there's nothing wrong with that.
No. Chicken wings.
Need we say more?
Let's get into chicken wings.
Okay, you got the boys coming on. Okay, it's bison jackrabbits, which it is this Saturday.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, boys are coming over. What kind of chicken wings do you make for them? Putting you on the spot.
I'm not a chicken wing maker guy.
Oh.
I'm not historically a guy that makes chicken wings.
So there's a couple methods. Okay, we can. Air fryer is very popular, which is super good. There's also where you can dry cook them in the oven.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, everybody's favorite, deep fried.
Correct.
Or you can smoke them.
I actually prefer them smoked.
I love smoked ones.
Yeah.
Especially when you brine them with salt and peach tea.
Ooh.
Very good.
Okay. Then you just need like a glaze of barbecue. You don't need much sauce.
Don't need much sauce. Or the other thing that I really like is making a honey sriracha.
Oh
Over
yeah.
the top from
See, the problem is I had chicken wings so good somewhere.
in Canada.
Yeah, you know the story. It's so hard to replicate. And I know it's something simple. Like they didn't pull a miracle in the kitchen. They probably just deep fried them, spun them, called it good.
Yeah.
But those chicken wings were massive. Like they were chickens on steroids or something up there.
Good right chickens.
Oh my kidding. I mean, if it was, unreal chicken wings. So it's not like your B-dubs or that was like a quarter of the size of these things.
But what I mean, there's not a whole lot of restaurants that I can say that have really good wings, national ones.
No.
I mean, they've all kind of gone to Shiola. We'll just go
Well,
Shiola.
Historically, what's the place that had the wings?
B-dubs.
Hooters.
Hooters.
Hooters wings, I never thought were good.
Have you tried the wing stop? It's another national.
No, I've seen them, but I've never had them.
They're okay. But okay, here's the other reason why I brought this topic up. Okay. Rumor has it the king of chicken, not KFC, king of modern chicken is coming out with wings.
Who's that?
Chick-fil-A.
Oh. What, I'm going to wait in line for 3 hours for wings?
You don't have to wait in line at Bismarck Story. But supposedly they released them in Memphis or Nashville, kind of chicken wing territory.
And they sold well, didn't they?
And they were hit. So, when you're doing, if you do it well, Chick-fil-A does chicken well.
Chick-fil-A does well everywhere.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see when they hit the world if you finally have some decent chicken wings in the national chain. But
we'll see. It still comes down to the person making them sometimes too.
Correct.
But you undercook a chicken wing, you're toast.
Oh, I do love some smoked wings, though.
Well, where are we going to eat, sir?
The House of Runner, no.
The House of Munch. Pete's House of Munch. I'm Chris Houston.
I'm Jason Renner.
This was Review Your Gear Radio.
Thanks for tuning in to Review Your Gear Radio. Be sure to tune in next episode, and don't forget to check out reviewyourgear.com. Also, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Till next time, tight lines and good times in the outdoors.